The African Energy Week for 2022, held in Cape Town, South Africa last week, was a global event of the biggest names in the world of oil, gas, and everything in between. Today, the African Energy Chamber, who organized the summit, released its latest State of the African Energy Sector report. All of this as another high-profile oil and gas conference is loading next week in Abu Dhabi. Joining me now on the show to chat to all of this is Ayuk. He's the executive chairman at the African Energy Chamber. Great having you on the show tonight. Ayuk, good to see you again. That was a World Cup you guys had last week in Cape Town.
It was amazing. It was Africa coming together with our European, American, Asian, and Middle Eastern partners. It was the oil and gas industry telling the world, we are back. We are going to take care of Africa's energy security. We are going to make energy poverty history. I am pleased, given the hard work that was put in.
Yeah, tell me, how did you got the Saudis, you got the International Energy Agency, you've got the OPEC, you've got all the big names, the NNPC, you've got the Chevron, you've got African petroleum producers, the APPO, all the big names in one room for 3 days. How did you do it at the AEC? How did you pull it off?
It comes out of hard work, and it comes out of consistently believing that if you get out there, knock every door, don't take no for an answer, go brick by brick, block by block, you will get everybody understanding our rallying call to focus on Africa and get Africa going. And I think thanks to people like you and many others across the continent that realize that our time is now, that we're not just going to say invest, but we're going to create that enabling environment. And the message is all about the narrative. And you got to be legit. And this started with somebody running away from the continent and going to Dubai. And we said, we're not going to run away from Africa. People call it Africa. We call it home. And we went on a home-based strategy, and it worked. But we're not stopping there. We're going to drive it forward to ensure that we get results for so many people that do not have access to electricity. And this energy industry has to work for all.
But NJ, what was the message of the Energy Week, especially from Africa's energy ministers and head of national oil companies such as the NNPC? What was the message really from African folks who are boots on the ground, Africa energy producers?
The message was very clear. We are going to drill for gas. We need to produce gas in Africa to solve our energy poverty problems. So there is a sense of that. This is not the time for Africa to abandon its natural resources on the ground because somebody from Europe or America says so. At the same moment, they also recognize that European and American and North American countries are producing oil and producing gas, and asking OPEC countries that most of them are Africans to produce more gas. So we're listening to those who say we should produce, but we're also thinking about everyday Africans, 600 million of whom have no access to electricity, 900 that don't have access to clean cooking, most of them women, and saying, how do we get young people into jobs and how do we create opportunity? That was the resounding message. There is a fierce urgency of now. Then there was also that big challenge that came from the business community, African independence, African business calling for an enabling environment. It shouldn't take so long to approve a project than the time you need to build that project. So we need to start seeing low taxes and better fiscal terms, limited government involvement in business, and driving up local companies to drive up growth, but not seeing the IOCs and the international energy companies as our enemies or competitors. They are our partners. We just have to hold each other accountable and drive that. That was a resounding message out of Cape Town. And with ministers going up to COP, there was a very strong African consensus around gas. Africa is going to be going to COP with one voice. We are not going to abandon our resources in the ground. We are going to drill. We're going to produce our resources. We're going to take care of our people, but we need the business community to come help us do that so that this can work.
Well, let's chat briefly about the deals. Give me some specifics from last week. What deals were signed? I'm sure the Afrexim Bank deal with Benedict Orama was one of the high points. Tell me about others.
That was one of the heights of this. There was a $600 million sign to develop a reserve-based lending to develop an oil field in Nigeria by Afrexim and Amni International. Sasol out of South Africa, multi-billion-dollar deal with Essalon Metals. Then there's a second one that came between Moneda Invest together with Namco. They're going to invest millions upon millions of dollars to drive up local content and build local capacity around that country with billions of barrels in there. Now, don't forget Technip Energies together with the Namibian government. They put a multi-million-dollar deals signed. There was also different deals on oil blocks where you had farm-out agreements, some of them going right up to $7 billion in investment that's going to come through drilling and developing those oil fields. Floating LNGs, you saw UTM, which is going to be most likely Nigeria's first floating LNG, driving very strong. Some of the terms of agreement signed, term sheets are right in place. You saw discussions around, Fortuna LNG in Equatorial Guinea and the Sanha and also Angola. We saw a combined somewhere around $29 to $32 billion in deals being signed, or some of them being started there. That is really good. And I think this is my favorite part of Africa Energy Week is deals. People are signing deals. They're creating jobs. Opportunities are happening. We just have to get it to work right now. We need to get right back to work tomorrow and drive up this industry.
Great. Today, your organization released the latest State of Africa Energy Oil and Gas report. Tell me about that. And as you're moving ahead, are you looking to work with the Africa Oil Week?
Well, let's talk about the outlook first. First, Africa is moving. Gas in Mozambique is going to be starting again. Angola, so many new projects. 1,200 wells are going to be drilled in Africa next year. 945 new projects are going to start. But also, you're going to see 435 new fields coming on stream, and a lot of Africans are going to have jobs on that. GTA in Senegal, fourth quarter next year. Now you turn around, floating LNG in the Congo Brazzaville is going to start. And almost 15 countries are going to be doing new licenses. There, we are so bullish about what's happening. Now let's talk about Africa Oil Week. We have never had a problem working with Africa Oil Week. I think they had a problem working with us. We've reached out to them. We've told them we will work together. We'll listen to some calls of people doing that. But here's what we're going to do. We're not going to bother about people feeling angry and not wanting to work with us. We are going right ahead. We're going strong. We are a movement. We are a movement for African investment. We are a movement for energy investment. We're not a conference. Nobody wants a conference. Nobody wants a stage builder. We are a movement to make energy poverty history. If Africa Oil Week or anybody chooses to come work with us, they can come home. We call it home. They call it Africa. They can come right home and work with us. But we are not going to be running around begging on people to come work with us. That is not going to happen. We are going to drive forward. The stakes are too high for everyday Africans. The stakes are too high for our energy industry for us to be begging others to come work with us. We are going to charge ahead right fast. I'm going to ADIPEC next week. We're going to keep an African message. We're going to draw more investment to this continent. We are not going to wait for a group out of London, or we're not going to beg them. We proved this year that we can beat you hard, and if they come back next year, we will beat them like a drum.
You're sounding more like you're on a football field, my friend. It smells of like
I'm ready to go.
It's an Africa's Nations Cup. Thank you so much for the conversation tonight, and wish you all the best at the ADIPEC in Abu Dhabi next week, starting on Monday. Thank you so much, NG Ayuk, Executive Chairman at the African Energy Chairman. Congratulations on the Africa Energy Week. Do have a pleasant evening.